Hello and welcome to Freedom News, the news you can use to help keep Canada free. I notice there's been a lot of talk online as of late amongst Canadians, some Canadians, that it looks like a isolationist movement is springing up in Canada unlike ever before. Canada has never really been much of an isolationist country. I mean, heck, we had to be kind of prodded to form this nation by England, and then even more so to become more independent in 1931. So we're not really an isolationist country. We are a country that prefers to work with other countries. It is our way of doing things. It does not make us globalists. It simply makes us, a nation proud to be Canadian, and still, realizing the strength in numbers. That's what we are as Canadians, and that's good. It's proper to be part of a team. You get much more accomplished being part of a team, having allies and such, and having a presence on the world stage. You get much more accomplished. It's not a matter of simply being, you're either a globalist or you're an isolationist. That's black and white, and I reject that. There is that gray, there is that middle ground that we've always aspired to be in, and where we unfortunately have left, but we can get back to that. There's never been anything wrong with that middle ground of being proud, having a distinct national identity as Canadians, and appreciate our Canadian values, and still being part of the world stage and taking a lead as we have in the past. And this whole thing of now this isolationist movement, isolating ourselves from the world, being propped up by Maxime Bernier and his People's Party of Canada, is that it is completely the wrong approach, especially in a moment in the world's history as it is right now today. Trump, for all of his saber rattling and everything that he has done, hasn't really had much success except for in America itself. He's obviously turned America around. But to really consider him the leader of the free world, well, he's not being very successful in that. He's definitely helped rise up, gotten smaller countries in some smaller countries in South America turn themselves around. Brazil, Guatemala, Venezuela's in the cusp of fighting now for their freedom to overthrow their dictator, Maduro. But Eastern Europe, he can't take credit for that. That would have happened regardless of who ended up in the White House. What happened in Eastern Europe was them looking back on the near 50 years of communist tyranny and realizing, we want none of this crap. They did that on their own. Regardless of who was in the White House, having perished the thought of Hillary actually becoming president, Eastern Europe still would have happened. Plain and simple. Western Europe, Trump has failed. And quite frankly, I don't put it all on Trump. I think that no president of the United States is capable of turning Western Europe back around. America as a nation just doesn't have the respect of Western Europe quite like Canada has. Canada has been there right from the start in both world wars, whereas America dragged its sluggish isolationist heels. We have much more closer ties to Europe than America has. We're part of the British Commonwealth. They are not. I'm not familiar with the semantics of whether or not the American Revolution War was right or wrong. It's just simply is a fact. Therefore, they're much more closer ties to Europe, proving over the 152 years that we've been in a country that we've had Europe's back, especially Western Europe's back, not just England, but France, Belgium, the Netherlands, even Germany. We've had their back. Western Europe respects us. When, of course, we have a strong leader and to speak reason and to the people and realize, you know what, there is something good about national pride and still being part of a team of democracies that stand for freedom. Canada can be that voice. Andrew Scheer wants Canada to be that voice, and he will offer that voice from Canada to Western Europe. Canada is therefore the linchpin in all this of saving Western civilization. Either A, we continue to send Trudeau to the world stage and things burn all around us, quite frankly, because of us. B, we send Maxime Bernier to the world stage, to represent us on the world stage, and he doesn't. He just simply sits there, and the world still eventually burns, and us along with it. Because no man, no country is an island unto itself. America tried to stay out of World War II. Didn't work. They were still drug into it thanks to Pearl Harbor. There is no way of simply being away unscathed. Not a nation such as Canada. We're not going to get away from any of this unscathed. The other option, option C, is to send a leader into the world to represent us on the world stage, who will stand tall, will stand proud as a Canadian Prime Minister, and speak to the masses of, remind them of what they used to be as nations who, in Western Europe before the EU, and yet still managed to work together. And yes, Europe has gone through, from the medieval times to even the 20th century, the first half of the 20th century, at war amongst each other. But they have accomplished quite a bit. Just without the EU, it's not needed. This whole globalist agenda is not needed. Nations can be nations unto themselves and be proud of their heritage and such, be proud of their national identity, and hold on to that, and hold on to their sovereignty, and still work together. We've done it in the past. In fact, the United Nations hasn't always been like this. It was a force for actual good. Yes, over the last 20 years or so, it's going to take a turn for the worse. But it can be made to change back. I would much rather us send a leader, a prime minister, and their ambassador to the United Nations that will work to achieve this goal. Show the world that a nation can hold on to its sovereignty, hold on to its identity, and still play ball. You do not have to give it up. And in fact, to give it up, to give up your sovereignty, to give up your identity, is the least effective way of making things work. All you end up is just more chaos. That is the choice that we have to make this October. Is not only who do we want being our prime minister and governing this land of ours, but who do we want to be the representative to the world, that will, who will eventually have an impact on the world and helping to develop it. I would think that we would want someone to send that will cause the world, and particularly Western Europe, which will to have our full respect and listen to us once again, take their lead from us. You save Western Europe, you save Western civilization, for that is where it all started. And it's clear to anyone who's willing to listen and reason with an open mind and honest heart. So again, I make this argument. The clearest choice for Canadians this October is to send a Conservative majority government led by Andrew Scheer to Ottawa, and therefore sending our representatives of that government onto the world stage to fully promote Canadian values, Western civilization values, and identity, and inject that back into Western Europe, thereby saving Western civilization and making this planet a much better, safer, prosperous place to live.
No. Mr. Humphrey, this Universal Declaration of Human Rights that you are trying to impose.
Mrs. Roosevelt and I only drafted the declaration. It will be up to you and your fellow delegates to adopt or reject.
But what you are proposing is that individual human rights should override a nation's legislation.
Well, that the state would no longer be above the law.
C'est absurde. It would compromise the very sovereignty of the Republic.
Yes, I believe it will.
Mr. President, in conclusion, I thank the court for allowing me to speak. I would like to reiterate that I believe my country's employment legislation discriminates against me because of my disability, and this violates the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Mr. President, our country's legislation was arrived at democratically. It is an expression
Say,
of national...
isn't that the Canadian who actually wrote the Declaration of Human Rights?
Thank you for watching. Remember, like if you like, share, comment, of course, subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you're able to, please feel free to click the PayPal donation link in the description. Thank you, and God bless.